各位记者朋友，大家下午好，欢迎出席外交部例行。
Friends from media, welcome to today's press conference. Now the floor is open.
您好，中国日报提问。18日，中共中央政治局委员。
Director Wang Yi and the Foreign Secretary of Denmark released a joint work program. How will this program help promote the China-Denmark relationship? From August 16th to 19th, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Denmark paid an official visit to China, and Vice President Han Zhou met with him, and Director Wang held talks with him. The two foreign ministers jointly launched the joint work program between governments of China and Denmark. Practical cooperation between the two countries enjoys a good foundation and enormous potentials. In 2017, the two countries released the joint work program, and it is moving ahead smoothly. Based on the new work program, the two countries will further enhance and deepen bilateral cooperation between the comprehensive strategic partnership in environment, water resources, science and education, agriculture and food, maritime affairs, tourism and health. This new practice in China-Denmark growing cooperation has elevated practical cooperation, further enriched our comprehensive strategic partnership, and will provide impetus for China-Europe. And in the international green cooperation, China stands ready to work with Denmark to make a new and greater contribution to achieving stronger, greener and healthier global development and realizing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Next one, please.
With Bloomberg, Japan, Korea, and the U.S. In a joint statement over the weekend criticized the dangerous and aggressive behavior supporting unlawful maritime claims that we have recently witnessed by the People's Republic of China in the South China Sea. They also affirmed that the importance of peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait is an indispensable element of security and prosperity in the international community. What is the Foreign Ministry's response to this?
彭博社提问：美日韩峰会批评了中国为支持非法的海洋主张，在南海最近采取的危险和侵略性的行为并且还指出台湾海峡的和平和稳定是国际社会安全和繁荣不可或缺的要素。中方对此有何评论？The trilateral summit of leaders of the US, Japan, and ROK at Camp David smeared and attacked China on Taiwan and maritime issues, an act of gross interference in China's internal affairs, a deliberate attempt to sow discord between China and our neighbors, and a serious violation of norms in international relations. We deplore and reject this and have made solemn démarches to relevant parties. We also noted that the US says the trilateral partnership is not against anyone. We urge it to match its actions with words and act on its statement that the revitalization of its alliances is not targeted at China, stop smearing China's image and harming China's interests, and stop creating division, confrontation, and undermining regional peace and stability. Currently, we see two trajectories in the Asia-Pacific. One is featured by efforts for greater solidarity, cooperation, and economic integration. The RCEP and CPTPP are two examples. The other is featured by attempts to stoke division and confrontation and revive the Cold War mentality. Various sorts of exclusionary cliques such as AUKUS, the US-Japan ROK partnership, and Quad are some examples. We regret to note the absence of the US in the former trajectory and its dominance in the latter. The Asia-Pacific is a promising land for peace and development. It should not be turned into a boxing ring for major power rivalry, still less a battlefield for a Cold War or hot war. Attempts to stoke a new Cold War in the region will be firmly rejected by regional countries and peoples. Those who seek to establish and maintain hegemony in the region are doomed to fail. We urge relevant countries not to move against the trend, give up attempts to replicate bloc confrontation in the region, and stop pursuing selfish interests at the expense of other countries' strategic security interests and the well-being of people in the Asia-Pacific. The Taiwan question is purely China's internal affair. Resolving it is a matter for the Chinese. We strive for peaceful reunification with the greatest sincerity and the utmost effort, but we will never allow interference in China's internal affairs using peace as a false pretext by anyone or any force. The greatest threat to cross-strait peace is Taiwan independence forces and foreign connivance and support for their activities. If relevant countries do care about peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait, they need to abide by the One China principle, stop conniving at or supporting Taiwan independent separatist forces, and protect regional peace and stability through concrete action. No one should underestimate the determination, resolve, and capability of the Chinese people in safeguarding China's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
I'd also like to stress that China has indisputable sovereignty over the South China Sea Islands and adjacent waters. The legitimate and lawful activities of China carrying out construction on its own territory are beyond reproach. As a state party to UNCLOS, China always earnestly abides by international law, including UNCLOS, and does not accept or recognize the illegal arbitral award on the South China Sea. In recent years, the U.S. has been doing all it can to interfere in the South China Sea issue, encourage certain countries to violate maritime rights, and sow discord, jeopardizing and risking the regional order. The U.S., together with its allies, frequently conducted military exercises and close-in reconnaissance in waters around China to flex muscles and intensify tensions, posing the biggest threat and challenge to regional peace and stability. China will continue to firmly defend its sovereignty and security interests, work with ASEAN countries to fully and effectively implement the DOC, promote steady progress in COC consultations, carry out practical maritime cooperation, and firmly uphold peace and stability and boost development in the region. Thank you. The next one.
谢发言人，中新社记者提问。据报道，世贸组织的前发言人基斯·罗克维尔日前表示，在“一带一路”倡议的带动下，中国资助了一系列非洲大。
China News Service, Keith Rockwell, a former WTO spokesperson, said that under the Belt and Road Initiative, China had funded mega infrastructure projects in Africa, and that China's relations with Africa were broad and deep and likely to remain strong for many years. What's your comment? We note the article, China strengthens solidarity and cooperation with Africa, guided by the principles of sincerity, real results, affinity, and good faith, and commitment to the greater good and shared interests. We stand together with the African people and pursue common development on the basis of mutual respect. Since the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, was launched a decade ago, African countries have actively participated in high-quality cooperation. Under it, with steady progress, the BRI has given a strong boost to economic and social development in African countries. The Mombasa-Nairobi Railway has shipped a total of over 10 million passengers and 27 million tons of cargo. The Addis Ababa-Djibouti Railway has greatly facilitated the flow of people and goods among Ethiopia, Djibouti, and other regional countries. During COVID, these two railways saw more bustling services and contributed to fighting the pandemic, ensuring people's well-being, and revitalizing the economy. The number one national highway in the Republic of the Congo, which links the country's only seaports with the capital and the hinterland, has been hailed by the president as a road of dreams and a road to the future. China Longyuan Electric Power's the Our World Power Project in South Africa reduces CO2 emissions and provides clean electricity to 300,000 local households. It empowers South Africa's green and low-carbon development and demonstrates a feasible path for green BRI cooperation. The Kafue Gorge Lower Hydropower Project, the largest in Zambia in nearly 40 years, reduces carbon emissions and yields revenues every day. Nigeria's Lekki Deep Seaport has played an important role in enhancing connectivity in Western Africa. The Africa CDC headquarters, fully equipped with modern office and lab facilities, have become a new landmark of Africa integration. China will continue to help Africa with no political strings attached, work for strong synergy between the BRI and AU Agenda 2063, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, as well as development strategies of African countries, support Africa in accelerating integration and connectivity, and bring more benefits to the Chinese and African people. Next question, please.
Next one, please.
日本的记者。
谢谢。日本朝日电
Asahi TV. Japanese media reported that China and Russia once asked the Japanese government to release the Fukushima treated water by vaporizing. Can you confirm this?
请你重复一下你的问题好吗？
Could you repeat your question? Asahi TV. Japanese media reported that China and Russia once asked that the Japanese government discuss vaporizing the Fukushima nuclear water. Can you confirm this?
China has repeatedly pointed out that ocean discharge is not the safest solution, and Japan's choice of ocean discharge out of selfish economic consideration will bring unnecessary risks to its neighbors and the world at large. The Japanese side should face up to the legitimate concerns of the international community, fully communicate with its neighbors and other stakeholders, stop pushing through the ocean discharge plan, discuss other disposal options, and dispose of the contaminated water in a responsible manner. The next one, please.
The British newspaper Telegraph claims that China helping to arm Russia with helicopters, drones and metals since the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine began. In particular, Russian arms companies have received tens of thousands of Chinese shipments for weapons production. What will the Foreign Ministry comment on this report? Thank you.
梧桐社提问：英国报纸《电讯报》宣称中方帮助向俄罗斯提供直升机、无人机还有金属原料。自从俄罗斯全面侵乌以来，俄罗斯公司
基础上同胞。
China always carries out normal economic cooperation with Russia and other countries on the basis of equality and mutual benefit. China always takes a prudent and responsible attitude in exporting military items. China's position and practice are consistent, and we oppose the untrue hype-up and ill-intentioned smearing of certain media outlets. On Ukraine, China is committed to promoting peace talks and will continue to play a constructive role in easing tensions. Certain country has been fanning the flame and fueling the fight with more weaponry. In contrast, China's position is above board, and I believe the international community can see this clearly.
下一个问题。
The next one.
谢谢发言人。总台中文国际频道记者提问：据报道，20日日本首相岸田文雄表示将实地考察福岛第一核电站，并
On the ocean discharge plan, so what's China's comment? China has stated a serious position on multiple occasions on the Japanese government pushing through its plan of discharging the nuclear contaminated water. The Japanese government has been ignoring domestic and international opposition, questioning on the legitimacy, legality and safety about the discharge plan and the risks to the global marine environment and human health. It just remains headstrong on dumping the water into the sea. This is extremely selfish and irresponsible. China expresses its grave concern and will closely follow the developments. By pushing through the discharge plan, the Japanese government seriously violated its pledge. In 2015, in the written document to the Fukushima Prefectural Federation of Fisheries Cooperative Association, the Japanese government made the solemn pledge of not taking any treatment measure to the nuclear contaminated water before getting the understanding of stakeholders. As of today, a large number of Japanese people, including the Fukushima Prefecture Federation, are still strongly against the discharge plan. The latest survey by Kyodo News Agency on August 20 showed that 88.1% of the people being surveyed are worried that the discharge plan would harm Japan's image and potential economic damage, and 81.9% think the government's explanation is insufficient. But the Japanese government said lightly that the ocean discharge is a long-term process, so we need to address the fishermen's concern from a long-term perspective. So this, going back on its word of the Japanese government, will lose the trust of the Japanese people and the international community. The ocean discharge, once done, cannot be undone. China urges the Japanese government to take seriously the legitimate concerns of the Japanese people and the international community. It should stop making wrong decisions and push through the ocean discharge plan. The next one.
AFP, a question on the DPRK. The DPRK has scheduled a flight to Beijing today, but the scheduled flight was later cancelled. I wonder if you know why the flight has been cancelled and when the border will be open to tourists.
Since China optimized its COVID response measures since January 8th this year, so the Chinese relevant authorities resumed to verify the applications of the international flights, and in 2023 summer flight, so the China Airlines, according to the procedures, approved the DPRK's application of resumption of flights. So this is all the information that I have in hand. Thank you. The next one.
谢谢发言人。湖北广电记者提问：据媒体报道，根据危地马拉大选第2轮投。
Hubei Media Group, with 98% of the ballots counted in the second round of Guatemala's presidential election, Bernardo Alvarado of the Seed Movement won over 58% of the vote, 30 percentage points ahead of Sandra Torres of the National Union of Hope. How does China comment on the results, and does China intend to further grow relations with Guatemala? Guatemala's presidential election is its internal affair. I won't comment on it. I would just stress again that the One China principle is universally recognized norm in international relations and the prevailing consensus among the international community. Establishing diplomatic ties with China is the right choice that accords with the trend of history and our times. Lately, people from various sectors in Guatemala have expressed in interviews their hope for their country to establish diplomatic ties with China soon, which fully indicates that developing relations with China is what serves the fundamental interests of Guatemala and what the people want. We hope the new government will make the right call in line with the fundamental and long-term interests of its country and people. Next one, please.
Thank you. At Camp David this weekend, Japan, Korea, and the U.S. said they intend to operationalize their sharing of missile warning data on the DPRK in real time by the end of 2023. Does China see this as breaking the 3 no's agreement with Korea from 2017? And how will China respond to this? Thank you.
美日韩在戴维营峰会上表示，他们有意在2023年年底实现实时共享关于朝鲜的导弹预警信息。中方是否认为这违背了韩国2017年的3不承诺？对此将做出何种回应？
首先我要说
First, I'd like to say that China has noted relevant reports. Relevant parties are now trying to strengthen military cooperation and seek geopolitical self-interest. So it will only increase the risk of camp-based confrontation, create tensions, and harm the strategic security interests of other countries. So we urge the relevant countries to take seriously the crux of the peninsula issue, exercise calm and restraint, and address each other's legitimate concern in a balanced manner through meaningful dialogue and maintain peace and stability on the peninsula. You also mentioned the third. Here, I'd like to say that our position and concern, the ROK side is fully aware of this, and we have stayed in communication. We hope that the ROK will move from the common understandings from the two sides and address this issue properly. Next one.
请大家继续提问。
Any more questions?
总台央视记者提问：赖清德日
Bloomberg aired an interview with Lai Ching-te a few days ago in which Lai propagated Taiwan independence fallacies. So what's your comment? Lai Ching-te's propagation of Taiwan independence fallacies in a so-called exclusive interview at the time of his stopover in the U.S. reveals once again what kind of person he is, someone who has no qualms about betraying the interests of his nation to advance the selfish agenda and brazenly soliciting U.S. support for Taiwan independence, and a stubborn out-and-out Taiwan independence separatist and troublemaker. In the interview, Lai claimed that Taiwan is already a sovereign independent country. It is not necessary to declare independence. Taiwan is not part of the PRC, and the two are not subordinate to each other. So they are sheer lies and blatant provocations. Just recently, Lai openly claimed his ultimate goal is for the leader of Taiwan to walk into the White House, which says enough about the extremely dangerous nature of Lai as a Taiwan independence separatist. There is only one China in the world. Taiwan is part of China. So this has been so since ancient times. The historical context and legal facts to support that are crystal clear, though the two sides of the Taiwan Strait are yet to be reunited. Taiwan's status as part of China's territory has never changed and must not change. China's sovereignty over Taiwan has never changed and will not change. As of today, 182 countries in the world, including the U.S., have established diplomatic relations with China on the basis of the One China principle. The U.S. government has repeated time and again that it will not support Taiwan independence, so how would Taiwan possibly have sovereignty? Taiwan has never been a country and will never be a country. Lai claimed that he hopes democratic countries will support Taiwan for its participation in international affairs so that Taiwan can better contribute to the international community. This is a familiar gimmick of using seeking participation in international affairs as a pretext to engage in political manipulation. Taiwan, as part of China, has no basis, reason or rights whatsoever to join an international organization whose membership requires statehood. The Chinese government has, however, based on the prerequisite of upholding the One China principle, made proper arrangements for the Taiwan region's participation in the World Health Assembly and the ICAO Assembly. Yet the DPP authorities have been bent on pursuing Taiwan independence and refusing to accept the 1992 consensus, which means the political foundation for Taiwan to take part in the WHO and other international activities no longer exists, and the relevant arrangements cannot continue as a result. The DPP authorities' repeated manipulation of health, COVID response, aviation safety, and other issues is never about caring for the well-being of the people in Taiwan, but about trying to expand international space and make diplomatic breakthroughs. During this year's WHO, nearly 140 countries publicly supported China's position, and the proposals about Taiwan were once again rejected. This once again showed that the One China principle has overwhelming international support. The DPP's attempts to gain sympathy by playing the underdog and use democracy as a cover for its separatist activities are nothing but wishful thinking and will only end in failure. What Lai has been doing, accusing the mainland of posing threats, creating a false impression of international support in the name of democracy, and roping relevant countries in to support Taiwan independence propositions. So these are all familiar pages from DPP's old playbook. So Lai's claim that Taiwan will work closely with the international community to deepen democracy and that the U.S. Congress will continue to support Taiwan Taiwan. This is essentially to trick the international community into cheering for his campaign. So this is all theatrics staged by Lai Qingde, again to hug the U.S. once again to solicit its support. It lays bare Lai's true identity as a practical worker for Taiwanese independence. And he can never truly hide his separatist agenda. What he does will only bring grave harm to peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. It will only push Taiwan towards the danger of military conflict and lead our Taiwanese compatriots to disaster. Taiwan independence is a dead end. Soliciting U.S. support for Taiwan independence will lead nowhere. We will work with the international community to firmly uphold the One China principle, firmly safeguard our sovereignty and territorial integrity, and firmly oppose the Taiwan independence separatist activities and foreign connivance and support for such activities. Resolving the Taiwan question and achieving complete national reunification is the shared aspiration of all the Chinese people under the historical trend that cannot be changed. China must and China will be reunited. The next one.
Thank you. Russia, China's main partner for the International Lunar Research Station, last week had a setback when its Luna 25 mission spacecraft crashed into the moon's surface. Does China still see Russia as a valuable partner in the International Lunar Research Station? And other than Russia, what countries are committing to taking part in the project? And what is China offering them to convince them to join? Thank you.
I'd like to refer you to the competent authorities for the specific question. But here I'd like to say that exploring the vast universe is a joint cause of humanity. The ICRC is open to all the interested partners, and China will be committed to the principles of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits, and will promote the extensive cooperation on the ICRC so as to contribute to scientific progress and the human advancement. Thank you. The next one.
还有其他的问题吗？
Any other questions? Then let's call it a day for today's press conference. Thank you.